Hello, my name's Tom Cahill. It's Wednesday, the 27th of August 2014. I just want to do a quick video about an anomaly which I think needs to be addressed, and it's for a certain group of people to focus on specifically. Right, well, put it this way, there's a lot of people in England who are well aware of the fact that the police are totally corrupt and totally bent. Not all of them, but like at a higher level, it's completely stitched up, it's completely bent. And if you draw your attention to Operation Tiberius, which was the Met Police's internal, then leaked report, which was marked secret, which said they're totally corrupt, they've always been totally corrupt, they can never get any better, and there's no possible way of making them any better, they're set up to be corrupt, there's no willingness to change, blah blah blah. They're totally in bed with criminals, and the Freemasons are generally the conduit. They do it by Freemason lodges, and it focused on Scotland Yard and said that that's like the head of all the corruption. Now, you'll see what I'm leading on to here. A while ago, on the telly, probably about a decade ago, there was this thing on about the paedophile squad at Scotland Yard. Now, I'm not going to cast any aspersions about this paedophile squad, but I would also like to draw your attention to something that was on the English TV at the time. This was back in the days when you could occasionally get something okay on the TV, and it was called Cracker, and it had Robbie Coltrane in it, this big fat guy, Scottish guy, good actor though, and it was all about the Vice Squad, or was it the Murder Squad? But no, it was the Vice, I forget anyway. The point was that there's also was something called Vice on the telly, and it was an English TV, and all the people in the Vice Squad, some of them were pervs, but anyway, with Robbie Coltrane in Cracker, they were a bit pervy, it's the pervy undercurrent, and they were often like that was it, they were after serial killers. And there was often this idea that there was a pervy undercurrent about people who were like involved with this type of stuff. Now, so I'm just going to say that I'm just going to leave that there, because a lot of this stuff's predictive programming. You can find out a lot about predictive programming if you want to look it up. I won't even bother taking too much time with it now. But the thing is that there's a lot of people in England who will openly say, they'll say the police are completely bent, they'll be very, very negative about them. And, in some ways it's not quite fair, because obviously there's a lot of police who aren't bent, but and it is unfair. But the point is that if you're going to say police are totally bent, right? This is the clincher, right? And there's this epidemic of paedophilia, right? And then every time somebody pops up on the telly and they say they've downloaded child pornography, or they've got that charge has created an image, there's a big anomaly there. Because if you're saying the police are completely corrupt, and a lot of them are paedophiles, and I believe this is the case, and I think it's been proven the case in not just England, in lots of countries, and that there's a good reason why you can't just walk into a police station like you can in lots of countries. In England, they have to go to reception. It's virtually impossible to get in. It'd be easy to escape from the cells and get into the police station. It's virtually impossible to get to see anyone. It's because they're all watching child pornography. And just tossing. They're just they're a load of fuck ups and weirdos, most of them, and I think most of them are. That's my personal experience of a lot of the police that I've come across. Again, not all of them. There's notable exceptions. There's lots of them completely fine. Police surprise me about how alright they've been. But I know there's a lot of fuck ups in there, and we're all well aware of this, and they're more than well aware of it. If you ever speak to them, you can tell that the ones who are alright, they're well aware of it, and it must be a horrible job, because you have to deal with all these fuck-ups. Not the scum on the street, it's the scum you're working with. I'd imagine it must be a horrible job. But anyway, this is the point. In the alternative media, and I know that's full of COINTELPROs, and I've covered this on numerous occasions, at least 98%, 95 to 98% of these people are all COINTELPROs. The go-to people who've just got endless time to constantly write articles and do stuff. Not just like me, I just spiel out a video, write some comments, do a bit of optimisation, and I'll bang it up. So this video, because it's only a short one, will probably take me more time putting the labels on, but generally it won't take me very long, because I've got better at it now. But anyway, the point is, right, if the police are totally useless and corrupt, and a lot of them are pedos, if your kid went missing and you were trying to track them down, or they got taken into care, what would be the logical thing to do? It would be to look on child pornography to try and find if you could see them, wouldn't it? It would be the most obvious thing to do. So if they're saying that anybody who gets caught looking at it ought to be, sent to prison for life, now I've never believed this. I always think that if it's there, people should be allowed to look at whatever they want, because as soon as people put the thin end of the wedge in, that means they're going to start banning other stuff, and they'll say, oh, child pornography, the next thing they'll be banning something else. Oh, we were looking for child pornography, but they can look at anything then. So it's better to just say on the internet you're allowed to look at whatever you want, and they track down who puts up what, because this is the big thing, and this is something that isn't controversial. If you look up anything to do with this subject, whenever they catch somebody looking at child pornography, that's it. They get in trouble, or not. If they're a high court judge or in the police, they get away with it, and that's the end of it. Like as though that's the end of it. They never look to sort of see, right, where's that room, what country is it in. There are people doing it, but there's very few of them. So this is the thing, right? You can't have it both ways. Either the police are completely corrupt and they're probably pervs themselves, and they're completely unreliable with sex abuse cases, as we know, and a lot of them will admit, they're totally for some reason they're, and I think we know why, it's something above the police. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, only they've got a monopoly on that. Put it another way, all the pedo, right? Why are they allowed to look at it and not me? Anyway, I'll leave that with you. My name's Tom Carhill, and it's the 27th of August 2014.